Thank you, Liberty and Gail, and all of you who are here today in the rain, no matter the elements, because we believe in the preciousness of every life. We believe in the right that every life has to life. And we're here to celebrate that right, and we're here to demand that right for all people, no matter their size, no matter their vulnerability, no matter how little or tiny or vulnerable they are. We demand that right for all people. And we're sending that message to the powers that be in Portland and Oregon and all across this country by our witness here today. So let's give it up for life and for the protection of every life. We are here because we know in our hearts that life is precious, that every child deserves a chance. We know that the most powerful, the powers of this country, politicians, the media, those that are elitists and cultural elitists in Hollywood, those that are very powerful for the last 30, 40 years have bought into the lie that somehow women must be pitted against their children, that somehow empowerment for a woman, for society, was to turn us against our own children. And we're here to stand up against that lie and to call out that lie for what it is. To say that we can do better than abortion, that women deserve better than abortion, and that children are a gift and not a threat. I first saw this when I went undercover for the first time, and many of you are aware of what we are up against, that this fight for human rights, this fight for justice and really for love is a fight against powerful groups, powerful alliances. And Planned Parenthood, of course, is the nation's largest abortion chain in this country, receiving over $500 million of our taxpayer money every year. And I'll never forget my first time undercover in a Planned Parenthood abortion clinic when I was 18 years old as a student at UCLA, and hearing for the first time this tax-funded abortion facility who has built its entire existence on the rhetoric that somehow life, the child in the womb, is antithetical to a woman's empowerment, and that somehow killing a child can push a woman forward. And I remember going into an abortion facility in Los Angeles. I was posing as an underage girl, as a victim of statutory rape, of sexual abuse, because many girls who find themselves walking into an abortion clinic, there's a situation of pressure, coercion, sometimes even sexual abuse. And I walked in and I said I walked into the abortion facility. I remember looking into this waiting room and seeing all these women sitting there in the waiting room and just stopping for a moment, staring into this waiting room through the glass doors. And this was a Planned Parenthood that was above a coffee shop, a Pete's coffee shop in Los Angeles, on a very walkable area where there's a shopping center, there's places to go in, have a nice lunch, a beautiful little area. And I remember stopping and just looking in for a moment at all these women sitting there. And my heart was just cut because no one looked happy. One of the women looked like she was about to cry. And I remember thinking as I looked at these women that for some women, I wasn't just looking at one life, but I was looking at two lives. And in that facility on that day, the cycle of death, whether through medical abortion or the appointment for death through a surgical abortion, would begun. And one life wouldn't make it out alive. And on the wall of the clinic, it said the word esperanza, or hope in Spanish. And I thought, this must be the most hopeless place in Los Angeles. They take words like hope and they put it on the wall of an abortion facility. I remember walking up to the check-in counter and explaining that I was a young girl. I had a much older boyfriend, clearly beyond the age of ultimately the age of statutory rape. And they told me to lie about my age in the paperwork. They told me I could get a secret abortion. After that first investigation and going across the country and repeating it, many different kinds of investigations, uncovering the big lie, what abortion has done to our country in killing our weakest, our most vulnerable, our future, our children, and turning mothers against their children and wreaking havoc on women through the misinformation, through the cover-up of sexual abuse, through the lies that they are told, through the physical injury it does to women, through all of the woundedness it inflicts on those that survive abortion, the family members, the mother, the father. It's an amazing thing happening in our country right now because there's a wake-up moment. Every day we're at a crossroads. Every day our country has to decide, what kind of nation do we want to be? A lot of people, a lot of politicians talk about human rights. They talk about justice. They talk about social justice. They talk about uplifting those that are downtrodden. But how can we build a strong and prospering America if it's built on the blood of those that have been treated as disposable, of those that are truly the weakest? How can we have a strong America if we build it on the broken bodies of our children? That is not a strong America, and that is not the America we want, and that is the America we are fighting to say we can do better than this. Our nation must protect that first human right. Mother Teresa is a big hero of mine. Throughout my pro-life work over the years, she's inspired me, and I'm sure she's inspired many of you. And of course, she's a little humble nun that was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize. But whenever she had the opportunity, while she was alive, she's no longer with us, she always cut to the chase. She always directed her remarks at a burning issue that most people in her circles, Nobel laureates, didn't want to talk about. And when she was receiving that Nobel Peace Prize, looking out into the international community, ultimately, she had the world stage. She said these words. She's talking about the lepers and the lonely and the hungry. She's talking about victims all across the world who are unwanted. And then she said, the greatest destroyer of peace is abortion. And she repeated it again. The greatest destroyer of peace is abortion. And she went on to explain, in a nation where a mother can kill her own child, what is left but for you and for I to kill one another? That is at the heart of this issue. This is a human rights issue. We know that science and reason tells us that this is a life. This is a human rights issue because we know that every life, every person has the right to life, and that should be protected no matter their circumstances, no matter the circumstances of their conception, no matter their disability, no matter their vulnerability. But this also cuts to the very heart of what it means to be human. And we as a culture, as a society, if we want a strong nation, we must protect the weakest. I want to share a quick video with you called What is Human? It opens with the story of a little boy who was born premature, and he was loved from the moment of his conception. His parents fought for him. He was born premature. And it goes into interviews with some of the most notorious late-term abortionists in this country. It's so important to know what's happening in the abortion industry. It's powerful. Planned Parenthood leads it. It's in Portland. It's in our communities. It's all over our country. It's tax funded. Late-term abortionists, unabortionists all over the map, they're operating, many of them skirting laws that are meant to regulate the abortion industry, putting women in harm's way, and of course making thousands of dollars. Some of these abortionists make millions of dollars a year off of the abortions that they commit. In this video, you'll hear voices of women who are actually pregnant, they're first-time moms, they're very brave, and they were in their second to early third trimester, and they're having conversations with the abortionist inside the abortion clinic as the defining issue of our day. This is not just another issue. This is not just another cause that we're here to rally around, but this is the defining issue of our day, the most fundamental human rights issue. It's so key to see what is actually happening. What are we facing? So we can play this video now. There are a couple scenes where it shows diagrams of what the abortionist is describing, which are late-term abortion procedures. So if you have a small child with you, you can choose to have the child turn away. But this is something that is so key for every American, especially those that are standing up to advocate, to know what we are fighting against and to be able to expose the reality of the horror that we are facing.
Well, in my heart and my mind, life begins when the mother thinks it begins, not when anybody else thinks it begins. For some women, it's before they conceive. For some women, it's never. Even after they deliver, it's still a problem, not a baby.
At this point, does it have like all of its organs and all of that stuff? Like, is it already fully
It's not
developed?
fully developed.
Okay.
It doesn't even look like a baby yet.
It doesn't?
Technically, it has its organs, it has parts, like we all have parts, but it's not done.
So, like, does it have a face or Like all of that stuff? Or?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's developing into.
Right.
all this
Okay.
is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want you to torture yourself.
You're 27 weeks. You're in about 6 months into the pregnancy.
Is it a baby?
Well, what do you consider a baby? It's definitely a fetus. Medical definition of a baby, I think, is technically until it's born. Until then, when it's in gestation, it's considered a fetus. So it depends what the term baby means to you.
Oh.
And how you perceive it.
Like it has all its parts and stuff? I just am trying to think like...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does. It's developed as far as in terms of surviving on its own.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I'm thinking.
It would have difficulty, but and need assistance at this point. Okay, so the last thing to develop on fetuses are like their lungs, really. So it would probably have difficulty breathing and need assistance, like with the incubator. It would have to probably spend some time in the hospital before you would take it home.
Okay, could that happen?
Today, no, that will not happen in this process. Okay, it will not be able to survive.
I won't be able to survive.
No, not at all.
Okay, so it's like having a baby, but a dead
Stillborn.
baby. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
stillborn.
Oh, that's what is stillborn?
Stillborn is a dead baby.
Really?
Cannot do a termination once it's outside of the body. Okay, he has to resuscitate it and he has to send it to the hospital. That's the law.
Okay.
But that's why a termination is done inside. He does a termination inside and then he removes the pregnancy.
So normally he just kills it inside, so that wouldn't be.
Well, we
Okay.
don't use the word kill, but
Oh,
yeah, we
okay.
do
Or
use the
terminate.
termination.
Oh, you guys say terminate. Okay, just to make it like.
No, just because that's what's happening. Depending on who's talking,
Yeah.
depending on what you consider life, conception of life, or whatever, when that pregnancy is inside the uterine area and it's under 24 weeks, you can do a termination. If it's over 24 weeks, you cannot do a termination in New York State law.
And then step 2 is that we do the injection, which is a quick poke through your belly, and that stops the fetal heart, so that makes it so if you were to deliver, there shouldn't be movement, there shouldn't be any of those things.
Okay. So it's almost like we're guaranteed it's like we're okay.
We induce a demise, an intrauterine demise.
What does demise mean?
Death. We use a
Suction.
combination of suction and then real instruments to literally go in and grab and pull pieces out.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe that's a little more graphic than I usually describe it.
And the baby,
Will come through, it'll compress down and come through that because it's not alive and
so when you say compress down,
it gets soft, like mushy.
oh,
So you push it through.
so what makes the baby mushy?
The fact that it's not alive for 2 or 3
Oh.
days.
So I'll have a dead baby in me?
For 3 days, yeah.
Will it start to decay or something?
No,
Oh.
so it's like putting meat in a crock pot. Okay, it doesn't get broke, but it gets softer. It doesn't get infected or.
Okay. So the dead baby in me is like
It's
meat in a crock pot.
Pretty much, yeah, kind of much.
All right. All right.
It's a slow
And-
cooker.
And what do you use to break it up? Just
Oh, a whole
what'd you
bunch
say?
of it.
Got a toolkit.
Pick, axe, a drill bit,
I see.
So,
Okay.
no, I mean, there's just instruments that have been developed. I'd have better luck standing in front of a train and getting hit and surviving than going 100 miles an hour than the baby, though.
To insert the injection, it's going straight into the sac and to the pregnancy. Okay, it's bottom down. It'll insert through the baby's bottom. Okay.
Okay,
If
so
it's the head down, it'll be inserted through the head, through the cranium.
does
so-
it feel that?
I'm not sure. That'd be a good. I don't believe so. I don't know if it's developed enough to feel that.
Okay.
It might be. Okay. Does that idea bother you?
A little bit, I guess. Like, I mean, what about you? Like,
Well, I feel that necessary for the procedure to happen, and ultimately safest and kind of the most kind of humane way to do it, you know.
And then it's just, I mean, like any shot, you know, like a flu shot or a vaccine, really.
Just like a flu shot or vaccine.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not like you and I, where when we get a flu shot, we're kind of, ooh, not that experience of anxiety and suffering is not, it's not capable of.
Okay.
And so that, I think, helps us all to feel more comfortable with this.
Yeah, to know that it's not like,
Not a thinking being in the same way that you and I are. Right?
Okay.
It takes a lot of life to get to be worried about stuff the way that we worry about stuff, right?
I remember a few years ago when I first got involved in this movement as a teenager, about 10 years ago now, and I found out about abortion, and I think when we find out about what it's doing to our children, when we start to realize the enormity of what we're up against, our hearts can be, of course, cut, and we can think, what can we do? What can I do? And here you are at this rally, here you are to stand up, especially as we approach Roe v. Wade, the anniversary of the legalization of this great injustice in our country. And in those moments, and in that first moment when I was really thinking, what can I do? I began to pray this prayer, and I said, God, use me. Use me to do something about abortion. Use me to somehow save some lives. And I think that within each of us, on our hearts is written the truth that this is a crisis that we're facing and that life is worth fighting for. And we each have a role to play in this movement. Our movement is making incredible strides. For the first time in 30 years of funding the abortion industry, a bill hit the president's desk, a bipartisan majority vote from the House and the Senate hit President Obama's desk to defund Planned Parenthood, the biggest abortion chain. The polls are showing that more and more people are pro-life, especially young people, especially millennials. We're seeing incredible movements growing up out of the community level, organizations forming to fight the abortion facilities, to educate young people, to pray for an end to abortion, to care for women who've had abortions, to be sidewalk counselors. There's incredible aspects of our movement wherever we turn. So I want to encourage you. This is a stand that we take today, but this can't end with today. This is a stand that we take this week as we approach Roe v. Wade, the anniversary on January 22nd. But it's not just a stand that we take this week. We have to carry this movement in our hearts, not just in the way that we live and value our own lives and those of the lives around us, but in the way that we stand up and say, what can I do each day for this cause? Can I pray more for an end to abortion? Can I educate young people in my community? If I'm a young person, start a Students for Life chapter, start a pro-life group at my school. Can I go and volunteer at the Community Pregnancy Center? Can I go and pray outside the abortion facility? That alone is an incredible witness to hope for the women walking in. I remember being outside of one with a group of young people, and a woman came up to us. We were just standing there, and we were wondering, are we making any difference standing here? And a woman came up to us after being there for a few hours and said, I just want to thank you. I was driving by, I had an appointment scheduled here for an abortion, and I was praying to God for a sign. I was praying to God for a sign that something would stop me from going in, because no woman is going into having an abortion smiling, saying, I can't wait to have my abortion. And she said, when I saw you standing on the sidewalk, I said in my heart, this is my sign. And I drove on by, and then I came back because I wanted to talk to you and find out if you had any ideas for me. And we ended up taking her to the pregnancy care center just a few miles away. But you are a witness. You are that sign of hope. You are that sign of love for the people around you, that love to say, call the evil for what it is. Call the atrocity for what it is. Expose that evil, because the world is putting on blinders. The world is being lied to. People are in their hurt. They're trying to shut down, and they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to think about it. But as we speak that truth of what abortion does to the child, how it harms women, how it harms fathers, how it's harming the family, it's breaking apart our country, how we also are a sign of hope to say we can do better. So I want to encourage each one of you, don't just march today, this week, don't just rally, but stand up every day, one way or another. Find that what God has for you, because each of us have a unique role to play. And that's the last thing I want to leave you with, that I survived, my generation, Roe v. Wade. We are survivors, and thank God for the gift of our lives, each of us for the gift of our life. But now our lives have a purpose. And today's crisis, today's fight is before us. It is very clear, all of the political issues, all of the social issues, all of the problems. But if we deny the weakest member of society, what is left for our society? As Mother Teresa says, if we allow a mother to kill her own child, what is left but for you and for I to kill one another? So as we stand up to this great evil and ask in our hearts, what is my role? How can I fight? Let us together create a nation that is one of true love, and one that respects and protects and demands protection for every life, no matter what. Thank you so much. God bless you all.